What's going on, Jerome's? So, Minnesota Fighting Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins is slated to be a true free agent this offseason. And yes, even though he's going to be 36, yes, coming off of Achilles, quarterback is still a need in this league. And Kirko was frankly on an MVP trajectory and should get paid. His market rate, depending on what it's going to be, is it going to be 40, 45 million bucks per year? Who knows? Will he give the Vikings a hometown discount? Who really knows at this point? So Kirko might not be backo, and that's a reality that Vikings fans need to take into account. There's a non-zero chance that Kirk Cousins is not back and he goes elsewhere. Although I feel like if he joins another team, he has to grow out the hair. Just looking good. So here, we're ranking the top 10 potential destinations for Kirk Cousins. One, we'll just get this out of the way. So Kirk Cousins, Vikings have around $29 million in cap. Now, if Kirk is not back, $28.5 million void year dead cap hits come home to roost. If not, they're still prorated over 4 years. And if the Vikings feel like they're on the cusp, and the whole competitive rebuild, right? So they could have tore this thing down. They could, Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell coming in, it was certainly their prerogative. They could have traded Kirk Cousins, but they decided to roll with him. They had a very successful 2022, and they would have had a very good 2023 if Kirk didn't get hurt. But now at 36, now at a spot where he's played himself into some decent money, even after coming off an Achilles. Do they run it back again? Do they take a swing at a quarterback in this class? Do they trade up? Do they maneuver? Do they take one at 11? Do they take one at the back end of the first round? Do they take one in the second round? There's so many options at this point. Do they re-sign Kirk for a one-year deal? Would he be fine with a one-year deal? Does he want more? I don't know. But I feel like, well, there's obviously a firm camp that doesn't want anything to do with Kirk Cousins, never did. There's another camp that F's with Kirk Cousins, wants him back. But I feel like a lot of fans are in the middle where it's like, we want Kirk back up to a certain price. Like, I don't want to go more than 2 years. I don't want to go more than $30 million per year, maybe 32.5 or something like that. But yeah, it's semantics at this point. But Kirk Cousins, if he's back, I think that signifies that the Vikings are all in on these next 1 or 2 seasons and rebuild the trenches, and let's get after things. Next, should we start from the bottom? Now we're here. Number 10. So the Seahawks. Now, there's a lot of moving parts here. So first off, brand new head coach, Mike McDonald, and Geno Smith is under contract. He signed a 3-year extension, head into year 2. But Geno, they have to decide, because before February 16th, his $12.7 million base salary is not guaranteed. He's also due around a $10 million roster bonus. But if Seattle wants to make a change at the quarterback position, maybe the new regime doesn't F with Geno, I mean, they could have some time to do that and basically swap out Geno's cap hits for Kirk Cousins in this spot. They also hold the number 16 overall pick in the first round. Next up, number 9, Washington. So this would be hilarious. Like, Kirk returning to Washington, the prodigal son, and the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. But different organization, new ownership, new executives, and all that stuff. And Washington, like, they want to make a splash, but I feel like Kirk Cousins would be Dan Quinn's type of quarterback. So it's so confusing because they're both bald. They both have the goatee. Well, Dan Campbell's not bald, but you know what I mean. They got the goatee. They got the yo attitude. Also, Dan Campbell seems like a defensive guy, doesn't he? But he's a former tight end. It's hilarious. But Dan Quinn, it seems like Kirk would be his type of quarterback. I mean, he obviously had a lot of success in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, and I think that Kirk would fit the bill there. Slinging Sam Howell. Hey, can we figure out a spot where Kirk signs with Washington and then we trade like a 7th-round pick for Sam Howell? Sling it, baby. Let's go. But Washington does have the most cap space in the league at 73.6. They do have the number 2 overall selection, but say that they only have eyes for Caleb Williams, and say that some team takes him at 1, whether it's the Bears or a trade out. Now Washington can't get up there. I mean, if they're not in on Drake May, if they're not in on Jaden Daniels, I mean, they could get a haul for that draft pick. And do they try to have some quick success in the DMV? And Washington fans have an opinion on Kirk Cousins, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. So they may have to take the temperature of the fan base there. But again, it would be hilarious. It would be absolutely hilarious. Next up, number 8. Tennessee. So, yes, they have Will Levis, 2nd-round pick, but a second-round pick who had some good moments and had some horrible moments. I mean, yes, he had a 4-touchdown game, but other than that, he looked kind of... And a new regime coming in, even though, yes, John... who the hell's their GM nowadays? Now, John Robinson got fired. But brand new regime coming on in, and Brian Callahan... Is Will Levis his guy? Is he not? That's TBD. But Tennessee does have a significant amount of cap space at 68.1. Now, if this is going to be a full teardown and rebuild, don't sign Kirk. But if they want to win a couple games very early and often, if they think they can compete in an AFC South, which is suddenly getting pretty sporty with the Jaguars, the Colts getting Richardson back as well as Stroud there, and they don't believe in Will Levis, it could make some sense in that spot. Number 7. Denver. So Denver is jettisoning Russell Wilson, and could you imagine? So they get rid of Russell Wilson. They're still required to pay him up to $39 million in 2024, and they signed Kirk Cousins. But I don't know, man. But Jumpin' George Payton is still allegedly the GM of the Broncos. He was here for many years with Rick Spielman, so he was in depth on those Kirk Cousins discussions, and Kirk. I mean, frankly, Kirk with some of those weapons, with Sutton and, well, we'll see if Judy's back. But I actually think that offense could be pretty damn good. Now, it would be for stupid-ass Sean Payton, but I don't know. I don't know, man. Next up, number 6, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so they're rolling with Kenny Pickett, former first-round pick. Mason Rudolph is also in that mix. They're $16 million over the cap, but they can shed a lot of veteran contracts, so they could be able to afford Kirk. Arthur Smith is in as OC of the Steelers for whatever reason, and I feel like with those weapons, with Pickens, with Deontay Johnson, and then you got Harris and Jalen in the backfield, I feel like they got something going in Pittsburgh. They just need a talisman at quarterback. Kirk Cousins could fit that bill for a couple seasons. Also, I feel like several former Vikings have found their way there, like Mason Cole, Armand for Watts, Patrick Peterson, Sean Sullivan. It's crazy, man. Next up, number 5, Las Vegas and Aiden O'Connell. Now, O'Connell ain't it. Yeah. Mustache is too creepy, but they got $36 million in cap space. They do have the number 13 overall pick, and the caveat is they just reportedly signed Cliff Kingsbury to be their new OC and de facto head coach of the offense under Antonio Pierce. And of course, Kingsbury had himself a good relationship with Caleb Williams and his parents at USC. So it's a spot where the Raiders are going to trade on up, and Williams essentially forces his way out of Chicago, and they go that route. It's possible, man. But if they want to go the veteran route, Kirk could be available. Next up, number 4, Tampa Bay. So this is with the caveat that Baker Mayfield signed somewhere else. So they took a 1-year flyer on Baker. He played well. Got to give him his flowers and got to give him respect. And Baker's played his way into some money. So say Baker signed somewhere else, and the Buccaneers, the Buccaneers, so they advanced the playoffs. They beat the Eagles. Sort of a near-run thing against Detroit. But if it's a spot where Licht and Bowles feels like they're close, even if they're going to lose Mike Evans, I mean, that defense is still pretty damn solid. Offensively, depending on what happens with Godwin, they do have some weapons. Do love Wirfs along the offensive line. So it is a spot where they're like, okay, well, we lost Baker, but we still have a window here. We can still get something going. We still play in the worst division in football. So let's roll with Kirk for 3 seasons and see what happens. It's possible. Next up, number 3. Also, so Dave Canlis left as OC of the Bucs to become head coach of the Panthers. Liam Cohen is the new offensive coordinator of the Buccaneers. Cohen has a lot of Kevin O'Connell connections and ties from their time together with the Rams before Cohen left twice to become OC of Kentucky. So he could be getting the inside lowdown and the inside poop on what's going on with Kirk. Next up, number 3, Atlanta. So I thought for sure if Belichick went to Atlanta that he and Kirko would link up in Atlanta and try to win a Jerome Bardo. But now, even with Raheem Morris in power, I mean, Zach Robinson does have the Kevin O'Connell connection, just like Liam Cohen, given his long time with the Rams. And it just feels like if you put Kirk Cousins on the Falcons, and yes, beyond the whole, hey, his wife's from Georgia, went to blah, 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 it just feels like if Kirk was on the Falcons with those weapons, with London and Pitts and Bijan and Algier and pretty solid offensive line, I feel like Atlanta becomes a player right away. First off, I think they're easily the best team in the NFC South, and I think that they could compete very quickly. So maybe that's something that's appealing to Raheem Morris. Maybe that's something that's appealing to Arthur Blank, obviously. So maybe they go that route. Lastly, number 2, New England. So this one makes a lot of sense to me because New England is chilling there at the number 3 overall pick, and maybe Caleb Williams goes 1 to whichever team. Maybe Washington goes with Drake May. Sure. Maybe they're not in on Jaden Daniels, or maybe Jaden Daniels goes 2 to Washington, and maybe they're not in on Drake May for whatever reason. So maybe they're just like, hey, we're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. We have all of this cap space, and we can get Kirk Cousins for 2-3 years, and we can rock this thing out. And of course, your Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, whether it's Bledsoe, whether it's Brady, whether it's Mac Jones, like he likes to have like a father-son relationship with the quarterback, and I feel like, who would you rather have a son? Let's try this again. Which player would you rather have be your son than Kirk Cousins? He's the perfect son. He's perfect. He's perfecto. And also, I feel like he would play well in Boston up there, given their sensibility. So, I don't know. Alex Van Pelt is the new OC under Gerard Mayo. He has ties with Stefanski. Stefanski obviously has ties with Kirk Cousins. I don't know, man. But they do have the cap space, and like we said, if the board doesn't break their way, maybe they sign Kirko, and or they don't think that the board is going to break their way. Maybe they sign Kirko and are dedicated to drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3. That'd be sick. That'd be a hell of a connection, man. But anyways, there you go. That's a top 10 Kirk Cousins free agent destinations ranked. Let us know. Yeah, Minnesota's still number 1. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.